right, perfect. All right, so listen, we are here finally. Thank you all so much for making time to be here as panelists. Thank you all as attendees. I know everybody is working really hard, but you're taking some time out the day to be here with us, and we really appreciate that. So the first thing I want to do is send a special thank you to the Office for Diversity and Inclusion, all of the HOLA ERG members, Heritage of Latinx Alliance, all of our committee members, especially the Mount Sinai Health System for always being great supporters in diversity, equity, and inclusion work. And today we are here to have this really great discussion with some people that I see as rising stars amongst many. And I'm just glad to be here to talk to you all as you all are going to share your journey. So just some quick housekeeping items. This is a webinar, so any questions you would like to ask, I ask that you use the Q&A button at the bottom. As we get to about the 45-minute mark, I will be looking in there to see if you have any good questions, because I've got a couple questions for these panelists. I think they're ready for them, but we're going to find out in a second. All right, so first thing first is introductions, and in no particular order, I'm going to start with Ashley Michelle Fowler, Administrative Program Manager for the Patricia S. Levinson Center for Multicultural and Community Affairs from the Office for Diversity and Inclusion.
Yes, thank you, Sean.
Yes,
Hi, folks.
yes.
My name is Ashley Michelle, double first name. I use she, her pronouns, and I do indeed work as the Administrative Program Manager within the Center for Multicultural and Community Affairs, or CMCA, as we lovingly refer to it, within the Office for Diversity and Inclusion. The Office for Diversity and Inclusion is a system-wide entity with multiple components and units and initiatives. And in the work that I get to do, I support our graduate and medical students and do individual connection and advising, group advising, including serving as a co-faculty advisor of a number of our student organizations. And I do assessment work in the educational space, and also educational and training efforts throughout the system. I know I've engaged with many of your departments through some of the trainings I do, including in microaggressions, and I am grateful for you, Maria Dimopoulos. So thank you, and so glad to be here.
I think we're all grateful for Ashley Michelle. Ashley Michelle has been one of the pivotal people who have always made sure inclusion was at the top of a lot of the events that we do. And I'm really excited to be a part of some of the work we're going to be doing with Indigenous people. Really looking forward to it. All right, next up, we have Diana Persaud, Associate Director, Revenue Cycle Application Training for the Digital and Technology Partners, otherwise known as DTP. Yeah, you know me. Diana.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining. So my name is Diana Persaud. I'm one of the Associate IT Directors here at Mount Sinai with the education team. To start with, I do oversee the day-to-day activities of the training, such as coordinate and plan monthly training calendar for all new hires and all existing employees for EPIC and Cerner courses. For those who may or may not know, we deliver training for all Mount Sinai employees across all campuses. I work with all levels of the organization, from frontline staff to senior management. I collaborate with other teams to address individual, group, and physicians' concern. I do work closely with my leadership team to develop standard processes and policies for my team and ensure processes are followed through. That's me.
Yes, absolutely. I remember when I first started having interactions with the IT team before you became DTP, and Diana was just one of those really good people you could count on, and just watching her grow within that department has just been nothing less of amazing. So thank you for being here today, Diana. And next up, I think we have one of our newbies to the system, Hazel Rogers, Assistant Director, Corporate Health System Affairs for the Office of Diversity and Inclusion. Hazel.
Yes, thank you, Sean. And hi, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Hazel Rogers, and I started out at Mount Sinai about 3 years ago. I joined right in the midst of the pandemic. I originally started my role as an administrative fellow through the Office for Diversity and Inclusion at Mount Sinai Morningside. And then I transitioned over to the Office for Diversity and Inclusion, where I focus on a lot of pathway programs. Right now, I'm focusing on our nursing pathway program, how we can focus on recruitment and diversity efforts for our nursing students, as well as our environmental health enrichment program, which is the ESG focus, where we want to focus on Harlem communities and how we can just raise awareness with environmental health and how that impacts the community at all individuals levels.
Absolutely. Thank you, Hazel. Hazel has some really good work coming up with the youth involving environment, and it's really exciting stuff, but I'll let her talk about that when she's ready. All right. And last but not least, Katari Villanueva, Client Service Executive for Revenue Cycle Operations for the Central Billing Office, also fellow committee member for Heritage of Latinx Alliance. Katari, please.
Yes. Thank you, Sean. Thank you for the introduction, and it's nice to meet everyone. As Sean mentioned, my name is Katari Villanueva. I'm one of the client senior executives over at the CBO office. I serve as a point person for any revenue cycle issues for my clients or concerns or any inquiries. With that being said, my role is to understand the needs of my clients, as well as to make sure that they are actually performing to meeting their financial targets. As Sean also mentioned, I am also a fellow HOLA ERG committee member. And so that's what I do.
So Katari is actually being very modest. She's a very critical piece of HOLA, and she was actually one of the people who spearheaded the prom just drive with Shireen Gonzalez and Karen Rivera a couple of years ago that really involved the entire institution being able to provide over 150 dresses to a local school that we serve as a community. So she's being very modest right now, but she knows I'm always going to point out her highlights. So thank you so much for that, Katari. And listen, I'm going to start with you first because we're coming off of a momentous Sunday. I don't know if anybody saw the Oscars, but there was a lot of diversity in who won. And right now we're here honoring these 4 females for everything that they've been doing within Mount Sinai Health System. But you're doing that within your current roles. So Katari, I'm going to start with you. What do you find most challenging about your current role as a client service executive?
Ooh. I'm gonna have to say not enough time in the day to actually accomplish all the goals that I have set for my day, right? There's only so much you can do. Yes, there's tomorrow, but you wanna make sure that you feel like you're actually being productive. And sometimes not having enough time to do that, it's challenging. But you always find ways on how you can do it. And then if you don't complete your goals that you have set for that day, you move it up to the next day and you make it, a priority to make sure that you're able to accomplish at least one of those goals that you set for the prior day for that day. And little by little, you just work your way into making sure you accomplish the goals that you have set. But that is one of the challenging in my current role.
Absolutely, especially dealing with several different departments. I can only imagine how that is for you. Ashley, Michelle, how about on your end?
Yeah, as I was thinking about this, I mean, certainly so many challenges, and I really resonate with what Katari's sharing, just in like feeling like, did I do enough, or knowing I did enough, but knowing that there's still so much left. But I think beyond that, those of us who've been with the system through COVID know that there is a new kind of reckoning and a leveling up of interest and awareness around issues of diversity, equity, inclusion, and justice. And unfortunately, it took the gruesome murder of George Floyd to really activate a lot of people. But then and then the system made new levels of commitment, and there were people who were being engaged that hadn't been before. And I think that as we move away from the intensity of that time and that particular incident, and kind of just the increased awareness of racial tensions in this country at that time, some of the interest and activation is just dissipating. And I think that's always particularly challenging for offices for diversity and inclusion and anyone whose role is specifically in that realm, because there's kind of this natural like inclination to say that when these types of needs come up, that's that office's job.
Mhm.
And in order for us to be truly effective and transformative, we need to stay in a place where it is everybody's job and everybody is enthusiastic and passionate and showing up. And so I think one of the biggest challenges I face in my work is, how do I temper my own workload and not let my job grow beyond its bounds when really everything can fall in the context of diversity and inclusion, and really continue to put pressure and accountability on folks across the system to be holding this work and carrying their water, so that myself and my colleagues don't get burnt out and aren't trying to fix the evils of this world in our own small little corner.
Yeah, I think you make a great point. The Office for Diversity and Inclusion has been doing this work well beyond before the horrible murder of George Floyd. And I really commend everybody that's a part of that department, because you make a great point. The fact that now there are DEI initiatives in everything, when we look at supply chain, when we look at how we're billing for patients, how we're providing care, I think you're spot on, Ashley Michelle. And I'm going to transition to you, Hazel, because you have a very specific piece of that. So how does that, create challenges in your role?
Yeah, I think Ashley brought up a great point, holding everyone accountable. And to that, I think one of my most challenging things is identifying the right stakeholders and truly listening and understanding everyone's opinions and their concerns, and also just having that ability to bring everyone's ideas together so that we're able to move forward and so that everyone can benefit from the overall operations of the business. So I would say definitely holding everyone accountable, as Ashley mentioned, but also identifying the right stakeholders and your audience as well. Like who, for me personally, and since I'm focusing on pathway programs, how are they going to benefit from the work that we're doing? And how is that aligning with our DEI 2023 strategic priorities?
Absolutely. Yeah, you got to find out who has the power and who has the funding, right? You can't do anything without those two parts. So you need that support. Great point, Hazel. Now, Diana, you play a very big part in this, right? Because we can't do anything without data. And we need to make sure that everybody knows how to operate in this system. For instance, now there's social determinants information that's going to go into physician billing. So from the DTP standpoint, what is the biggest challenge you face in your role?
Hi, yes. So just echoing what Katari stated earlier, not enough time in the day. So having multiple projects with tight timelines and having projects timeline shift, this does sometimes cause projects to overlap, and it does require us to reprioritize, getting trainers ready to deliver quality training to meet the timelines.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, time prioritization, I think that is really good. Time management is very key. I also find sometimes learning when to say yes and when to say no, knowing what's yours. I mean, that's just my 2 cents.
Mhm.
All right. So we're gonna keep this moving along, and I'm gonna start with Hazel. Was healthcare always the goal?
Yes. However, I thought one day I was going to be a labor and delivery nurse, but then after a few incidents where I was shadowing and then I passed out a couple times because blood is not really my thing, just full transparency. But no, I was able to fall in love with public health. That's actually something that I minored in undergrad. And then I wanted to pursue that in grad school. So public health was always my realm. And I wanted to figure out how I can focus on community health and bridge that into the healthcare operations. So that's really the sole reason why I applied to the fellowship, and specifically at Morningside, because I felt like Morningside had that community feel in terms of really advocating for like what the community needs, and also just having my common background experience from undergrad and graduate school and just kind of putting that all together.
Oh, that's great. That is great to hear. I know when I walked into the delivery room, the doctor told me, you can look, but once you look, it's up to you. So I didn't look. I kept it moving right to my seat.
You didn't want to see that.
No, I did not. I did not. Diana, how about you?
Absolutely not. My first career goal was an accountant. And after my second semester in college, I realized I don't have a passion for accounting. So I transitioned over to business administration. And during that time, I was interacting with some other students, and one of the students indicated that they were a healthcare major. And at that time, I didn't know what the logistics that are involved in healthcare administration. So it did spark a curiosity, and I just started doing some research, and I felt that healthcare was something that I could pursue. And here I am 24 years later.
All right, perfect. Now, do you still have the accounting skills?
I do not.
You don't? Oh, okay, because I was like, I still have some time. What's the deadline? April 18th, right? Or something like that.
Oh my God.
All right, Ashley, Michelle, how about you?
Yeah, I would say a big old yes and no. And if anyone really loves career stuff the way I do, I'd love to talk you through my very circuitous journey at some point. But so much of my understanding of career and my career imaginings were shaped by my low income background. I grew up in poverty in the Bronx to two working class parents who didn't attend college. And so not only was my immediate context of work really limited, but naturally my parents' network and kind of the things I was exposed to didn't give me a lot. So I think, you know, when you're in that context as a kid, you understand a few careers. You can be like a teacher, a doctor, a lawyer, you know, maybe there's a few other things that enter your realm. But for those of you who are familiar with the television show Reading Rainbow, I'll say that that show, which was on for decades on public television, really helped shape my life in a humongous way. It developed my passion for reading and informed a lot of what I was reading. But I think that, you know, I give LeVar Burton so much credit for his kind of like role in my childhood in shaping my imaginings, because it allowed me access to things beyond what was obvious for me. So the very first job I ever imagined for myself was as an archaeologist, because as he would read books about ancient Egypt and the pyramids and the pharaohs and just, you know, that whole universe, I was so into it. I used to know all of the Egyptian gods and goddesses. Like I was just like, I couldn't take enough. Then I realized that often archaeology involved getting dirty, and that was not a thing I cared for. So I learned quickly that wasn't going to be my route. But many of my ongoing career imaginings hovered around healthcare. And I think for me, it was my career really unfolded in much more organic ways, where as I gained more information and more exposure to the world, more unfolded before me that allowed me to see the nuances. Because certainly I don't know that most children would grow up to say, I want to work in administrative healthcare and academic medicine and doing diversity, equity, and inclusion in that space. It just wasn't in my cognizance, right? But I think that the themes that always existed for me were my passion for people and my concern for the world and my curiosity to know and live into different cultures and experiences. And so I think my path makes a lot of sense if you put it all in context, but as I'll share a little bit later in our conversation, I was all over the place and kind of still am, and I love that.
Oh yeah, I think that's great. And I think anybody that's listening to this story now, I'm pretty sure a lot of us are in that place where we're somewhere, but we could probably be in three different places, whether it's passion or knowledge that we've adapted to. I mean, it's great. So thank you, Ashley. Michelle. Katari, how about you?
No, so my goal was not healthcare. Actually, my career goal was law enforcement. I love the challenge of being out there, helping the community, serving to get, you know, those people out that didn't need to be in the street. But my thing was law enforcement. I didn't pursue law enforcement only because my dad was not happy about it, right? To him it's dangerous. That's not something that I want my daughters to be in. And, you know, coming from a Puerto Rican background and Puerto Rican dad, old school, he was like not having it. And so I couldn't fail him. I was like, all right, if this is not something that you want me to be in, then this is not something I'm going to push for. Could I have done it later on down the line? Absolutely. But things changed for me. I had one sick family member that I had to take care of when I was young. So that actually, I grew a love for healthcare then, learning the loops from the bottom, from calling, from authorization, from registration, from insurance verification, from billing, and here I am now.
Yeah, I hear that story often, that people who get into healthcare had some sort of experience, whether it was a sick loved one or they experienced something health-wise that stirred their passion to, be in healthcare in some form or fashion. So it's always interesting to hear that story. Yeah, so all right. So these are all really great answers. Thank you so much. Now, one of the biggest initiatives here at the system is the roadmap to address racism. And through our task force back in 2020, we established 11 strategies that are led by system leads throughout the entire system. So what I tasked each of our panelists to do, and I'm going to start with Diana. I want you to take one of those 11 strategies and tell me, what are you most excited about it? Like, how does it resonate with you?
So I have to say, I am truly excited about all 11 strategies, but the one that really connects with me is strategy number 2. And strategy number 2 is to unify and integrate clinical practices where possible while advocating for payment and regulatory reforms that would allow for full integration and unification of clinical practices regardless of insurance status. 2 simple reasons: healthcare is essential for maintaining good health for everyone, and everyone should have access to necessary medical care regardless of their ability to pay. And just thinking back when my parents migrated from Guyana to the United States of America, my dad was working as a mechanic in an auto body shop, and my mom was a seamstress in a sewing factory. They didn't have health insurance, and when one of my 5 siblings or myself got sick, it was definitely a challenge. So I'm definitely excited about strategy number 2.
Thank you so much. I love that one too. And being in charge of reimbursement and contract compliance, trust me, I can't wait to see the day when we can get parity in reimbursement. Katari, how about you?
Yeah, so actually the one that resonates with me, I mean, I'm excited about all of them, just as Diana, but strategy number 9, and that is promote equity and mentorship. And the only reason why I resonate with that is because for me, it was hard to believe in myself. It was hard to believe in what I could do, my capabilities, my abilities. It took that one mentor to sit down with me, take time out of a busy schedule and say, hey, this is what you need to do. I'm going to challenge you, right? And so coming from a home where you don't have that, right? I was raised with 2 parents. My mom was a stay-at-home mom. My dad was the only one working. I have 9 siblings. So it was kind of challenging for my home. And knowing that you didn't have that one person to say, you know what, you can do it. You can pursue your goals, your dreams. It took that one mentor to actually take her time and say, yes, you can. I'm going to challenge you. And go step by step, teaching me the way on how I can actually achieve my dreams, achieve my goals. And so what I do now is that I actually do that for my mentees, right? So I do currently have mentees. And so I feed them what I'm being fed, right? And I still have a mentor. I actually have 2. I have one professional and I have one for personal and spiritual, right? And it helps. It helps you. There's nothing you can't do. If you put your mind to it, you can get it done, right? If you put your heart to it, if that's what you want to reach, sky's the limit. Reach it, right? But sometimes it takes that one person to believe in you, that one person to say you can, that one person to push you, to see what you can't see, and believe when you can't believe in yourself.
Talk about it. Love it.
Yeah.
Ashley, Michelle, how about you?
Yeah, so I think, and I hope this will be consistent with the entire panel. It's just true. Like, we're all excited about the entire roadmap because this is work that we all deeply care about. And so I was like, "Ugh, what do I pick?" But I mean, I think that the one that I've been most closely connected to and that reflects my work most directly is strategy 11, which for those unfamiliar says to provide to provide anti-racism education and resources throughout the Mount Sinai Health System in order to foster a learning community at all levels and to help advance an anti-racism and equity culture. And I have only spent a part of my career in the healthcare space, but I have existed entirely within education. And so I spent much of my early career in higher education. I also worked for an educational nonprofit. And it's just something that is so important to me because, again, coming from my background, I really saw education as my ticket to a sense of freedom, to access, to transformation. And my own journey has demonstrated that education changes lives. And so, when I think about specifically in anti-racism and other anti-bias work, I have been really fortunate to have the privilege to have um, formal education, but also informal education that has opened my mind and helped me progress along in this work. And I really believe that it is storytelling, it is connection with humanity, it is access to information and accurate information, especially in this day and age of information overload that transforms people. And so for me, I think being able to contribute to strategy 11, but also benefiting from a community and a culture where we prioritize that and value that and are working to bring everybody along with a shared understanding and shared foundation gets me really excited. So if because I was asked to choose one, I'll say strategy 11, but again, really enthusiastic about the entire roadmap.
Oh, definitely. Great answers, Michelle. Hazel, how about you?
Yes, so I agree with the other panelists. It was really hard, Sean, to just pick one. But if I had to choose, I would say strategy 8, which focuses on increasing recruitment efforts, hiring and retention of Black and other underrepresented minority staff and faculty, and ensure that they are represented in all levels of leadership, including high impact leadership roles in the system. And for me, that matters because representation matters. Whether you're a patient, whether you're someone who's, let's just say, a frontline staff. For me, I want to be able to look at leaders who look like me. And I think that also speaks volume to the fact that Mount Sinai Health System put this in the roadmap because we are taking those strides. And I think when I was a fellow, I had the opportunity to partner with Danielle Tyson from the Icahn School of Medicine. So we were in the process of identifying different HBCUs that we wanted to partner with. And for me, it was those moments where I felt like, wow, we are actually trying to make a difference here. We are really invested in trying to make a change. And for me, that matters the most because I personally feel like if we are going to practice what we preach in terms of diversity, equity, inclusion, then all levels need to be represented. And as a system, we need to hold everybody accountable for making those strides. So kind of to what Ashley Michelle talked about earlier with accountability.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So these are all really good answers. So we have making sure that no matter what coverage you have, you can get the same care. We have mentorship, right? And I think that ties in perfectly with what you said, Hazel, right? Leaders who look like me. And I think Sinai is really taking the right steps and making sure that we have to have a recruitment process that allows for equitable pathways to leadership so that mentors can be in abundance to the community that we serve and the community that we have as staff. And then, of course, providing the right education, right? Actually, Michelle, we need to make sure that everyone has the tools to have these tough conversations because we're not trying to make this seem easy here, people. It's tough. It is tough to talk about race. It is tough to talk about DEI efforts. So we understand this is an exhausting, long journey, but that's why these ladies are here to help you. That's exactly why I brought them here, so they can share their stories and tell you about all the great things that they're doing. So I'm just going to go in the chat real quick because while you go over talking, I saw a lot of great comments. So they love Katari's comments about mentorship. Diana, Guyanese presence is here. Yes, we are here. Powerful statements from Katari. Oh, yeah, they're loving Katari. They're clapping it up for Hazel
Mhm.
and the informal and formal approach from Ashley Michelle reading Rainbow. Yes, I can't. As soon as you said reading Rainbow, the song started going off.
Let me tell you,
Um,
LeVar Burton is a king and a national treasure, and I will protect him in whatever way I can.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, mentorship opportunities. So there is actually a steering committee that is looking at that from a system-wide perspective, because right now, while we have some really good mentorship programs, we know that we can still optimize their growth and give them the right tools to build. But the first thing I think that I know Diane Adams is working really hard on with her whole group is making sure that we can have a central repository where you can find all of this information. Right now, you have to hope that you see the email or you have to get a referral from someone by word of mouth,
Mhm.
but they are working diligently to make sure that all of these programs can be in one place. So real kudos to Diane Adams and the whole team that she has working on that. So more information will be going out on that, and I'll definitely try and share some links as we go along. So we are at the half-hour mark, and we're about to get into the thick of things, right? So now I've got four amazing ladies on this panel, and while some things flow very genuinely, flow very opportunistic, we know there's some things that kind of probably get you angry sometimes. So my question here is, what is your biggest pet peeve about the many misconceptions of women in business? And I'm going to start with Ashley Michelle.
Yeah, sure. Well, it's funny because as you talk about getting angry, I feel like the place where my mind goes is like, I think there's a really big misconception about this idea that softness is weakness. And I think that, something that I really value deeply in my own leadership, and some of that is shaped by my identity as a woman. Some of that is, my cultural and ethnic experiences. And just as I've observed and learned leadership over the years, like, I think that there's something really powerful and altering about being able to exist in softness and leadership, and to um to be thoughtful about how we show up in our work, to be collaborative, and not cower into some pressure to just make decisions and be hasty and authoritative. And I think so much of this is also intersecting with some of the characteristics of white supremacy culture that we explore in the Chats for Change series, and a lot of what informed the work of the roadmap and continues to. And just thinking about um, some of the ways that we've been socialized are actually counter to productivity, to cultural shifts, to inclusion. And so for me, I think stepping back from things like a sense of urgency or ideas around like power hoarding and creating silos, but rather like what it means to be relational, to create connections, to build bridges. And I think that oftentimes we see in the media images of women who express their vulnerability or kind of lean into their more delicate characteristics, and they are bastardized as weak or incapable, incompetent, not fit for leadership. And frankly, I think men have been doing it their way for centuries, and I'm not impressed. So I think it's time for us to like start imagining new ways of leading and existing. And that's not to exclude men, but to say, well, what if we did all bring our collective wisdom together and
Mhm.
rethink what it looks like to lead and to grow and to change. And so that's my biggest pet peeve, I think, is that oftentimes women, when they exist in their vulnerability and their fullness and their authenticity, are perceived as incapable. And I found that's not true. And so many of my most favorite and life-changing leaders have been women and folks of other gender identities, that have really been able to show me different ways of existing.
Thank you so much, Ashley Michelle. Hazel.
Yes. So I'm gonna say, and you know what, Ashley Michelle, I really love the point how you talked about leading as a collective and what that would look like for women. And it's interesting because I was gonna say one misconception that I think people have when it comes to women in business is that women executives don't support other women.
Mm,
For me, I think that is completely false.
mhm.
And especially here at Mount Sinai Health System, I feel as though, yes, it is a very large organization. So it is hard to tap and network with everyone. But I will say that, and I'm just going to speak from my personal journey. With my personal journey, when I started here at Mount Sinai Health System, I've had mentors like Pam Abner, Shanna Dakin, Lindia, Hayden. I've also had Miss Calandra Branch, Lisa Renaud, Diane Adams, Valerie Ornella, Eric Rubenstein. So I would say for me, the reason how I was able to connect with these ladies is because I put myself out there and tried to seek different mentorship opportunities from them. But again, everyone's journey is very different. But I think for some people to just flat out say women executives don't support women, I think that is a big misconception because we have a really strong network of talented, insightful, and really dominant bosses of women leadership within Mount Sinai Health System. And it doesn't have to be even like higher executives. It could be managers, it could be directors. But I think the thing is that sometimes women feel, unfortunately, it's sometimes a competition. And I don't think we should look at it like that. I think we should
Mhm.
always have that collectiveness. And as Ashley Michelle said, you know, we should help people. And because I've learned from them, that has helped me in my position to want to help other people as well. So going to high schools and assisting people with their resumes, and I do the same thing for some of my colleagues here at Mount Sinai, as well as mentees opportunities. I definitely provide my time with different colleagues who ask for my advice. So for me, it's just because I've had the opportunity to have people who to advocate for me, I always make sure that I pay that forward and advocate and help other women grow in this organization.
You see why she's on the panel, right? You see that? Nothing more to say there. Katari.
I agree with Hazel. I do with Hazel and Ashley Michelle. It's a point, you know, we do have to support one another as women. But one of the ones that really hits home is being a mother, right? Being a mother gets in the way of being a leader. And so that misconception to me does not sit well with me, right? I'm a mom. I have 2 young adults, right? That doesn't get in the way. When you have a vision as to where you want to see yourself, your kids actually are your motivation to push through to get to where you want to go, right? Yes. Is it challenging? I'm not going to tell you it's not challenging. I'm not going to tell you you're not going to have stepping stones. I'm not going to hear and sugarcoat anything because yes, it's not going to be easy, but it's not impossible. And I think I speak for myself as minority, right? We come from where we feel we can't put ourselves out there. We feel like they're not going to look at us. Oh no, that's just going to be, you know, too challenging for her. She has 2 kids, or, you know, she's a single mom. No, actually, that's what actually encourages me. I have 2 children that are actually looking up to me. I am their role model. I have to show them, you know what, anything is possible that you set your mind to. You have a vision, you have a mission, go for it. Whatever comes your way, it does not matter. You don't stop. You have to keep pushing. Time management is very important. Balancing your life is also important. You're going to have your good days, you're going to have your bad days, but it does not stop there. And I think that's what happens with us women. We put a stop on ourselves. We are our own challenge. It's us. We can do it. We just choose not to do it because we're afraid. We allow fear to take over, which is false evidence appearing real. That's fear. So we can't let fear take over our faith in what we can do and what we can accomplish. We have to keep pushing. We got to keep striving. We have to show that we can do it, especially if you're a mom. You got to teach your kids, no, anything is possible. Sky's the limit. You just have to stay focused. You got to have a goal. You got to have a mission. You got to have a vision, because the vision is what's going to push you to make it happen.
See, I'm gonna have to have Jasmine grab that sound bite, because I need to listen to that like every morning. So I have the motivation to do what I gotta do. That was beautiful, Katari. Diana.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna echo what Hazel said earlier in regards to women in leadership role who don't support other women. Just adding that I'm going to share my personal experience here at Sinai. I've been led by women in leadership role for so many years, and just touching Margarita Ortiz, who's my director. She's been my personal mentor since 2007, and it's just been a beautiful experience. But one of my biggest pet peeves is that women in leadership roles who are confident and assertive are sometimes labeled as bossy. Many times I'm engaging conversations with friends, colleagues, and you'd hear them say stuff like, oh, my boss is so pushy, or they're so bossy. And then when you find out, when you get into deeper conversation and ask the why, it's usually that the boss asks for a follow-up or a status. So that is a huge misconception in my personal opinion.
Yeah, I agree. Everybody thinks they can be a boss until it's time to be a boss. And it shouldn't matter who's giving the orders, right? It shouldn't matter who's giving the instructions. It's about making sure that the game plan is followed and that we accomplish what we're here to accomplish. Listen, you ladies have the chat on fire. They are loving what you're saying. I'm just gonna go through a couple things here. Michelle said nothing can or will stop us. Kelly said, feed your faith and starve your fears. Jermaine Nelson, you are all leaders and brilliant examples. Listen, thank you all. This is what I love about these conversations, because we're all going through similar things in our lives. You know what I mean? And sometimes it requires us to slow down a bit, get together and have dialogue like this to really say, you know what? I'm not alone. I'm in this with somebody else. So thank you all. I mean, this is really great. All right, so we're gonna keep on rolling along. Listen, you've worked hard. You've done the mom thing. You've done the bossy thing, right? You know what I mean? You've been teaching. You've been, sitting here doing all of this work. What's a day of relaxation look like for you? And I'm gonna start with you, Diana.
So for me, a day of relaxation is really waking up and having a freshly brewed cup of coffee, taking either a nice long walk or a bike ride or a nice long drive, taking into scenes, and just really doing what comes to me in that moment. So I don't have like an ideal planned out relaxed day. It's just really doing what comes to me at that moment. That's truly relaxation for me.
Keeping it spontaneous, like it. Katari?
The beach. Take me to the beach.
No hesitation. Just said, take me to the beach. Done.
Take me to the beach. Let me hear the waves.
Okay.
No, I mean, getting up in the morning, having that nice cup of coffee, like Diana said, I gotta have my coffee, that's for sure. Otherwise, I'd be one cranky person. But either going for a walk, a hike, no chores. No chores. As long as I don't have to do no chores. I mean, just relaxing. Music, right? I love music, jazz, salsa, anything that just puts me calm. And just having a peace of mind. Sanity is very important.
Very.
So keeping your sanity.
Okay.
Yeah.
Love it. Hazel?
So for me, first thing I would typically do is wake up, read my Bible, have my conversations with God. Then I would write in my gratitude journal, just being really thankful for where I am now, the obstacles that I overcame. And then from there, I would probably go to the gym. To me, it's relaxing. Right. So go to the gym. And I'm a big foodie person, which kind of is like, okay, I eat everything, like anything salty, sweet. I love every different cuisine. So definitely try to go to a restaurant. Just spend time with my family and friends, people that genuinely care about me, and we just enjoy each other's company. So that's for me.
Have you ever had to tell somebody about their bad mac and cheese? Because I did it. It didn't go over too
Mm,
I'm pretty
Oh
honest,
my
so
God.
yeah, it didn't go over well.
well. It didn't go over. Okay, good. Ashley Michelle.
yeah, somebody needs to tell people blueberries do not go in mac and cheese. But yeah, no, when it comes to relaxation, I think everything that was mentioned resonates for me. And water is really powerful for me. So being near a body of water for sure. Um, and I would add also, I love the spa. So like if I can get a massage, a jacuzzi, sauna, steam room situation, that's lovely. But beyond that, I would say like there's a lot of elements of what a relaxing day would look like, especially a whole lot of nothing and no like predetermined schedule or like commitments I need to run to. People who know me know that I run very packed and I have a lot going on, but they don't realize that I'm also very good at doing a whole lot of nothing and truly leaning into relaxation when I plan to do that. However, one of the things that I'm really working on this year is really integrating rest into my daily practice and habits so that I'm not relying on these dream days that we're talking about. On our staff, we have been using the book Rest is Resistance, a manifesto, as a part of our professional development. If folks are not familiar, I highly recommend that everybody get a hold of this book and read it. It's by Tricia Hersey. And one of the things Hersey says in the book is you are not just born to center your entire existence on work and labor. You were born to heal, to grow, to be of service to yourself and community, to practice, to experiment, to create, to have space, to dream, and to connect. And I'm really working on rewiring the ways that I've existed and the ways we're socialized to exist, to think about how do I lean into that and my inherent humanity and value outside of this kind of machine cog system that we've been placed into. So, like Hazel said, I'll start my mornings with like reading the verse of the day and doing some prayer time. And then I try to follow it with a morning meditation. And I'll try to take even 5 minutes in the middle of my workday to color or to do a free write or listen to a song that I've been eager to listen to or whatever it is, just like so that these rest practices are a normalized part of my existence and not something that's set apart for when I'm on PTO.
Right, love it, love it. So I see everybody's really liking the book suggestion. It is Rest is Resistance, and a great shout out to Daphne from the Levy Library. So through the roadmap bulletin, which comes out every Thursday, when we mention this book, because Pam definitely has all of us reading it, when we mention this book, the Levy Library actually now has a free digital copy for all Mount Sinai staff. So I'm going to find out a way to get everyone the link so you can go get that digital copy. So this just shows how what started as a way for us to kind of come into a community and learn how to rest, which I still don't know how to do to this day. Katari will tell you. But it's a great book. So we'll find a way to get that link to everyone. We'll find a way to put it in the bulletins. But really shout out to Daphne from Levy Library for making that happen. But this is how sharing information gives ideas to others on how they can make it something, I guess, accessible for all. So look at it. Look at us working on inclusion of it. I mean, I love it. I really do love it. All right. So we're at about 1:51, and I really want to get to my special question. So I'm going to ask this other question first, and I'm going to ask if you could probably keep it short, but I really want to know this. What was your dream job as a teenager? And I'm going to start with Hazel.
Oh, no. Okay. I wanted to be a singer. I thought that I was going to be the next Toni Braxton, but then as time got older, you know, my vocals just weren't there. And I just decided to pursue a different route, but I still like to sing sometimes. So karaoke night, I like to do that a lot.
Me too. Me too. Same thing happened to me, man. As soon as I turned 12, 13, I was like, what happened to my voice? It was a big workout.
Right. Very humbled. I was humbled very quickly.
Definitely, definitely. Katari,
As a teenager, I wanted to be a teacher.
I see that.
Yeah,
Because you're teaching
a
us right
teacher.
now. I see it.
Yes.
But
Mhm.
I still do it, right? It's not
Yep,
at the Board of Education, but I still do it at a different level. So
that's right.
I'm still sewing and teaching.
Love it, love it.
Yes.
Ashley Michelle.
I wanted to be an athletic trainer in the National Football League, ideally for the Tennessee Titans, but any team besides the New England Patriots.
Yes, love it.
I don't like the Patriots either.
Sorry, Patriots fans.
I'm not.
Diana.
When I was a teenager, my dream job was a lawyer. At that point, I didn't know the logistics of a lawyer, but watching TV, I've always seen or thought that success is to be a lawyer. And as I got older, I realized that was not my passion.
Mm.
All right, all great answers. All right, so it is 1:53 and you have officially entered Senor Lee's C-suite. And here's the scenario. I want you all to get ready for it, right? You're the CEO of a healthcare organization, and you've been charged with hiring 3 women, prominent figures, mentors, entertainers, 3 people to help you culturally transform the institution into an equitable and prosperous place for women to work. Who are you choosing? And I am starting with Katari.
Good question. Challenging. I'm going to say this is you're really putting me here to think.
Yeah, I told y'all I was gonna have a zinger.
Yeah, dang.
It could be anybody that I work with.
Anybody, 3 women, you gotta go to, you're being charged with this cultural transformation. These are 3 women that are gonna help you.
3 women that are going to help me. I'm going to say Michelle Begonia.
Mm.
Marta, which is my current boss now, my current leader.
Okay.
And I'm going to say Emma Andre.
All right. I'm going with the Central Billing Office crew. I love it. I love it. Diana.
This is a very tough one, Sean. To only be able to pick 3 women. Oh my gosh. So I would definitely say the first would be Oprah Winfrey.
Okay.
And if I was to go in-house, it would be my my director, Maggie Ortiz-Pavone.
Okay.
And the third one, I don't know, Sean.
Very challenging.
She's like, somebody's gonna be upset with me.
Definitely, you know, Kristen Myers. I have a lot of respect for Kristen Myers here. So yeah, those would be my 3 women.
Mhm. All right, Hazel.
Okay. All right. So if we're just talking about in-house, definitely Lisa Ronald from Mount Sinai Morningside. I think she is just amazing. Calandra Branch as well. Can I do 4? Does it have to be just 3? Okay, just 3. I would say, okay. Well, their leadership style is very similar. So I would either say Pam Abner or Shanna Dakin-Pierrick. They are just like very on it. So either one of those two.
I agree. I think you should come swift with this. You're the last one.
Yeah, I got this. I got this. It took some time, but thank you all for sharing your thoughts first. So the immediate first non-negotiable name that came to mind was Dr. Leona Hess. If y'all don't know Leona, she's in the Icahn School of Medicine at Mount Sinai, and she is changing the world and going to continue to. So I will follow her to the ends of the earth. And then my supervisor, Dr. Angel Palermo, has been in this space for almost 25 years and is nationally renowned. So I'd be silly not to bring her along. And then my very dear friend and colleague, Dr. Nadia Mitchell, who is a consultant and owns a consulting firm that does DEI work across industries, and coined the term the triple burden in referencing the ways that Black women are oppressed in the workplace, and has just done some incredible scholarship. And so those would be my ride or dies. Hopefully they'll come along with me.
I think they will. And what's great, like I told you all, be prepared for a zinger, right? Because this is what happens in leadership.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you think back to 2020, right? As tough as it was, we had to make quick decisions in the worst environment, just to make sure that we could survive, so we can treat our patients, we could treat our own mental health. So you all did good. You know what I mean? Katari, you were the first one. So I think you did good. You went with what you got, and that's the beauty of this. So listen, I want to thank you all, and I hope for everyone that attended this session. Me personally, as a man, the best thing about this session was it's another chance for me to listen, to learn, and to learn how I can assist. But also, while you were answering questions, which I think is another great trait that men should learn, is when to shut up and get out the way. So it's very important that we all learn in those situations how we can help, and at the same time recognize the great women that are amongst us. So thank you all. We got like less than a minute. I don't know if anybody wants some last words they want to share.
Also want to say thank you to you, Sean, for facilitating this and for being such an amazing partner to the women in this system.
I just want to say thank you, Sean, for always supporting women and just really putting together this panel. This was a great opportunity, and it was so nice meeting all the other panelists and getting to connect with you and all the audience here. So thank you.
And if the person who entered the question asking for promotions and negotiating salary, if you're still on the call, feel free to reach out to me directly if that feels comfortable. I'm happy to have that conversation.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
Okay.
Sorry.
Thank you, Sean, for putting this together. And it's a pleasure to meet the other panelists as well. Diana, it's so good to see you. And also, if you don't know about HOLA, make sure you get our emails down there and shoot us an email for the HOLA ERG, and we'll share more.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. It was definitely fun and exciting, Sean. It's amazing work, and it's just beautiful. So thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely. So listen, I see we still got 80 people on. We got to go, but we thank you. We thank you very much for joining. These ladies have to get back to the great work they have to do, and I have to get back to figuring out how I'm gonna find some rest within this balance of work, right?
Indeed.
But thank you all. Really, really appreciate the love and support. Make sure you learn more about the Office for Diversity and Inclusion, about joining employee resource groups. It's one of the best ways to get involved. Make sure you go check out the roadmap strategies. Make sure you go check out all of the great things that we're doing across the system. It's just a great way to get involved. We cannot do this work without you. Thank you all so much.
Thank
All right.
you.
Thank you, ladies. Appreciate
Bye.
you all. All
Be
right.
well. Take
Take
Have a
care,
good
guys.
day.
Be blessed.